Hello. So today I have my fully baked thoughts on the Hindash highlighter in Liluna. So this was something that I think someone on this channel had mentioned in the comments, and I had never really looked at Hindash products before. So I looked into this, and it looked really interesting because I had been looking for a lilac highlighter for a while. And maybe even before I talk about this product, I kind of want to give you context as for what I was looking for because I think that will explain a lot of thoughts on this particular product. So let me give you context there, and then I will come back to the Hindash highlighter and compare this with basically what I was going for. So let me bring out the products that kind of look like what I was going for. So I'm not going to talk about this one, but I did want to mention it because I had mentioned it in the unboxing video for Hindash. I have since found out that this is probably a counterfeit product, so I am not going to be comparing this with the Hindash highlighter, but I did want to mention, why I'm not including this in this section. So that is why. But basically what I was looking for, what I have been looking for a while, is a nice light lavender, lilac, like a very light purple highlighter, or even a blush. Something that gives a bit of a lightening or brightening effect on my cheeks, either through a little bit of pigment or sheen or a combination of those things. And these are the products that I have that are closest to that, but they don't quite hit what I'm going for. And I think the closest one to what I want is actually this highlighter or eyeshadow. I think it's a highlighter, but I've used it as eyeshadow from Give Me Glow. And this is in Powdered Perry. It's a really pretty lavender color. But as for a highlighter, and this is why I'm always confused if this is a highlighter or not, even though it's a really pretty color, it's almost spot on for the color that I'm going for. I don't find the texture to be what I like. I think it'll look fine in the swatch, but on my cheeks, it just gives a lot of texture. It doesn't have glitter or anything really. It's one of those things where I put it on my skin and I feel like it highlights texture rather than blurring it, which, to be fair, a lot of highlighters do. But I've really tried to work with this and I don't really like this. I find I don't even like it as eyeshadow either because it highlights all of the creases on my eyelids, and I don't really like that. But the color is basically spot on. You can see it's really more silvery than anything, but there is a lilacness to it that is, a little detectable on the skin, but it's mostly just a highlight that, melts into my skin, maybe looks a little bit blushy and is a little bit brightening. And that's what I like. I just don't like the texture of this. And then this one I haven't swatched or used in a long time. This is a very old highlighter from Mally in Sunrise. I think this originally came in a trio, and I forget what the other colors were, but this is like the slightly pinky purple one. And I think on my skin tone, it doesn't really show up as pink or purple, if I remember correctly. Or I guess there's a little bit of pinkness to it, but you can tell it's not as cool toned as the one from Give Me Glow. And if you can see as I turn my arm, there's a cast to it. I don't know if it's too dark for my skin tone or what the cast is, but I do find that this is a little bit darkening on my cheeks, even though the sheen is quite brightening and silvery. So I don't really like this one. And the sad thing is I kind of like the formula. The formula isn't amazing, but it definitely doesn't really highlight any of my creases in my skin or skin texture. So I think the formula of the one from Mally is better than the formula from Give Me Glow. But I just don't like the color. The color doesn't do what I want it to do. It has that weird pink brown cast on my skin, so it just looks weird. And then the last one here is from MAC. This is Soft Frost. And this is the one that I use. I use this the most, and this is probably the closest to what I like. And I think on my hand, you might be able to see sort of the reflect, but it is very white if you get a big swatch of it. This one, I like the texture of the most. I find this one to be the most blurring. And it's really pretty. It's kind of a barely there kind of thing. And it only really shows where the light hits, if you can see. But it is very soft, and I like that. I like this. But I kind of want a version of this that is that's less about that almost duochrome sheen and has a little bit of base pigment to it as well, but that blurs in with my skin really nicely. So basically what I'm looking for is a better formula than the Give Me Glow, but with that same color. And I really like the MAC one as its own thing, but I want something a little bit different. And to be perfectly honest, I want something with a purple color that is more cool toned than Soft Frost. I'm not going to say Soft Frost is warm toned or anything, but the purple in the sheen in this, I guess maybe it's just more of a pinky purple, and I'm going for something that's more of a lilac or a lavender. I basically want a different color than this. I want this color from Give Me Glow, but I want it in a formula that doesn't highlight all skin texture and bring more skin texture to the party. So anyway, this is all to give you context on what I was looking for from the Hindash highlighter. I'm looking for something that is a really nice formula that blurs, but also in, basically this color from Give Me Glow, but I'm looking for something that is a very cool toned silvery lavender. So let me get these out of the way. And I bring all that up, that long introduction, because this does not have a trace of purple of any sort in it. There is no lilac, there is no lavender, there is no purple. And, well, here, let me give you a swatch. Let me show you what this does look like on my skin. We can go from there. So I want you to see just how different this is, and I'll show you what this looks like on my finger, because I think that this might give you a good view of what the color is. Like you can see, it's a white. It picks up very similar to the MAC Soft Frost, but instead of that purple sheen, there's actually a gold sheen to it. And when I put this on my skin, you can see how it's different from the others. And I'm going to build that up a little bit because I really want you to see the color. Even though, like, formula-wise, this is really meant to meld with your skin and not show up in a really obvious way. But you can see this isn't, there's no purple to it. And really, it is more of a white gold kind of color. Now, if you are more warm toned than I am, this may look more silvery on you than white gold. But I think I just don't like the fact that this is marketed as being a lilac or having some sort of lilacness to it. and it's really just a white gold color. And if I can, I will insert a picture of the picture that's on the listing for this, like the marketing photo, because that marketing photo, as well as the description of the color, kind of talked me into getting this. Because I fully expected to get this and it just be a white brick like this. Like, that doesn't bother me. I fully expected that that photo was edited, because for things like this, it can be really hard to capture the color of the product, much like MAC Soft Frost. This also looks very white in the pan, and you really have to like turn it to get that, to show that color, that sheen, and even that doesn't pick up super well. So I kind of thought, okay, they edited the photo to add in, whatever they couldn't capture in a picture. I don't have any issue with that. And I think the way that this was described in the listing was, I believe it was like moonlit pearls or moonlight pearls with lilac. I don't think it was sparkle or anything. There's no sparkle to this. There's no glitter. But there was, like, lilac was mentioned in that description. And I just don't find this to have any of that. I think this was marketed in a way that made me buy it, that made me think that it was going to be more along the color of these three, when in fact it's not. And I have comparisons to compare this with, to give you an idea of what the color actually is, because I don't want anyone else purchasing this thinking that they're going to get a lilac leaning highlighter, or even something that has like a little bit of lilac in it just for like color correcting purposes or just for brightening. But I've worn this in a lot of different lights to see, okay, maybe there's some sparkle or glitter in there that I'm just not picking up on, and there really isn't. Now, if you look really closely, and I'm not going to be able to pick this up in the camera, I don't think. But if you're in a very strong lighting environment, oh, and by the way, I was wearing a long sleeve shirt earlier today, so my arms look weird from, I guess, how it was compressing. Just ignore those if you can. Sorry about that. I just noticed my arms look like sausages. But anyway, going back to the color of this, there are some like very light, like very dispersed, I should say, pink sparkles in here. I don't think you can see it, and you have to be very close up in a mirror or something in order to see it. I think there's some pink, maybe some green sparkles in there, in addition to the gold reflect, and I do think that it makes it a more interesting color for sure. But I don't think that it makes it, like, it's not a unique color. It's not the unique color that I thought it was going to be. It's basically a white gold in here. Maybe it's time to get into comparisons, because I think that will help show what this looks like. Because when I purchased this, there weren't really a lot of reviews I was able to find, and certainly not comparisons with things. So let me get out all of the things I want to compare this with. Okay, so there's a lot of different things here, and not all of them are going to be direct comparisons, but I want to give you an idea of what the color looks like. And I will get to formula at some point, I promise, because maybe that's where the review is a little bit more positive. But the color really threw me off, and I have some very strong opinions about it and some strong feelings about it. But let me maybe first go back to the Haus Labs highlighter, and this is the silver one. This is in Moonstone, because this is kind of what I expected the Hindash one to maybe look the most like, is basically a silver highlighter. I was kind of expecting something like this, a silver highlighter with maybe a lilac tinge to it of some sort. And then if I got really lucky, it would be a little bit more lilac like this. Let me show you, just so you have a comparison swatch. So I think compared next to the silver, you can see the gold a little bit more easily. Like you see how the Hindash one has a bit of that white gold to it. And I will say, I do think that for people for whom a straight silver is a little bit too much, I think the Hindash one will be kind of a more wearable silver, if you will. And it is a really pretty color. But it's just not what I was going for. Because here's the thing, is like, even, like forget everything else I have here. Between these two, I will always choose the Haus Labs because it's more cool toned. And it shows up on my skin as looking like it looks like one with my skin because it's so cool toned. Whereas the Hindash one, the reflect kind of looks separate from my skin because it's gold and because it's a bit more warm. And there is something natural looking to it, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's so gold and warm toned that I could never wear it. But I will always choose the Haus Labs over it. So there's no point in me having it. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. And in a way, I already have it because if you have the Hourglass highlighter trio, and specifically the pure strobe light, the middle one, this is exactly the same color, 100%. I did a few days where I wore this and on one cheek and then the Hindash on my other cheek. And from any reasonable difference, you can't tell them apart at all. Like not texture wise, not color wise, you can't tell them apart. Let's see. I'm sorry, the lighting today is not very good. So I'm doing my best at being able to show you these two. But you see how similar those two are. And I think what really makes me a little bit angry about having purchased this highlighter from Hindash is I already have this color from Hourglass, and I know I don't like this color. The reason I keep this trio is because I like this one. I like this lighter, pinkier color. Or at least on me it's lighter and pinkier. I guess in the pan it looks darker. I think that is the Absolute Strobe Light, is the one that I like. But this one, the pure one, yellowy one, I don't like. And I've tried wearing this a lot of times because I always thought that it should look nice on me. But there's something about it that's a little bit too gold, a little bit too yellowy, just a little bit too, I want to say warm toned, but it's really not very warm toned. But just doesn't work for me. And now I have two of them, and I don't need two of them because I don't like the color of either one of them. All right, so this one is easily my closest comparison with the Hindash highlighter. Let me do a few more swatches of these other ones because I do want to make sure that if you're considering the highlighter that you have a much better understanding of the color than I did, because the color is the reason that it doesn't really work for me. So my next comparison, and really the first thing that I thought of when I swatched the highlighter from Hindash is actually this highlighter trio from McGrath, and specifically this middle one. Now this one is much more gold, and the gold reflect is much more like strong than the one from Hindash. So you see how like reflective that is. Hindash is not that reflective, and it's not quite that strong of a gold. You see how much more strong that is. But if you have this or if you have tried this before and you've had this gold with that kind of interesting neutral green undertone to it, I feel like the Hindash one has that. It's just this has a lot more silver to it. It's kind of this highlighter from Pat McGrath, but without all the glitter. But if you took that green gold and you diluted it with silver, that's kind of what the Hindash looks like. And I think it's interesting, as much as it's a color that I wouldn't have chosen had I known what it was, but I think it's an interesting color because I think this specific gold, especially if it's diluted with some silver, is very versatile across undertones. Like the Hindash one, and really this one from Hourglass too, I can get away with them. They don't look terrible or garish on me. I just don't prefer them. I prefer something that's much more cool toned, like the House Labs. So another one that I was thinking of, and I actually haven't swatched it next to it yet, is this color from Pat McGrath's Subliminal palette. Let's see, I'm running out of fingers. Let's try this. And I think this one will also be more gold. Yeah, this is going to be a lot like that one from the Pat McGrath highlighter palette, actually. Yeah, it's going to be the same. I don't know if that comparison is going to help. But maybe if you have the Subliminal palette and you haven't had interaction with these other products, this can help give you an idea of a comparison as well. This is much more of a yellow gold. It's really if you took this color and you diluted it with some silver. But you still have that gold reflect. It's not as strong, but it's there. And actually, as I open this, I think that maybe this is a really good comparison of what I thought I was getting versus what I got. This color right here. I mean, maybe not like this pigmented of a color, but I was expecting something in this color range. I was expecting something definitely more towards the purple side of things. And then what I got is closer to this color. And so I think that's where the disconnect is for me. With the color, with the marketing photos, I think this is why I'm a little confused about what I ended up getting, even though I thought I was going to get something a little bit more cool toned, a little bit more purple. So I do also have this old highlighter from e.l.f. It's very old, and it's my little sister, but I wanted to swatch this as well because I think that it is also going to be similar-ish. Again, I think it's also going to have a stronger gold sheen. Oh, and it's also really sparkly. I forgot how sparkly this was. Let's see if I have room down here. Okay, yeah, so I think the color's a little bit in between the Pat McGrath ones and the Hindash, and it's just so much more glittery. Like, it's just a glitter bomb. It was fun while I was using it, but it was definitely not for me. And then this one right here is the Hindash. The Hindash is like super smooth, no glitter, but just to give you an idea of the color. All right, and then I have two more. I have the Ethereal Light from Hourglass, which I thought might be similar because if you look at the pans next to each other, not that comparing white powders in the pan is always very useful, but I thought they would be similar. And I do like Ethereal Light quite a lot. But it's not a highlighter. It's kind of just a white powder. So I think you can see just, this is just a white powder that just melts into my skin whereas the Hindash color kind of comes out a little bit. It looks a little bit more separate. And then the last one is the Cloudlight and Dawn from Morphe, which I very recently got. I haven't played around with this too much. I mostly got this because I wanted a lighter color of Moonlight from Hourglass. And when I swatched this in store, it's kind of what it seemed like. And I am just curious what this looks like next to Hindash because this one is quite glowy, kind of like Moonlight. But I don't think it really has the darkness that Moonlight has. And I think compared with the Hindash one, this is going to come across a little bit more pink. So I'm going to try to put this over here. Yeah, and you see how this is like, sorry for all my terrible swatches. This is a little bit more silvery on my skin. So the swatch for this is like right here, and then I like turn into the highlighter from Hindash, and this one you can tell is like, I mean, it's more, it has a lot more sheen to it. But it also has this golden overtone to it, whereas this one, like, doesn't. But yeah, hopefully that kind of gives you a better sense of the color if you're thinking about getting this, because I was a little taken aback by the color of the Hindash one. So I'll stop going on about the color, but this is not, to me, this is not at all a lilac color. Um, this is a white gold, a light gold color. Um, and if you have this highlighter from Hourglass, um, the color is exactly the same. And honestly, the formula, even though it's not the same, from any reasonable, like even like slightly reasonable distance, they look exactly the same. So if you have this, you already have this. You don't need both. But what makes me sad about not liking this, not liking the color of this, is I really like this formula. I think this is one of the better highlighter formulas that I've ever tried. When I first put it on my face for the first time, I didn't think that it was very blurring. But then when I wore it around, I realized that it kind of is. And so the way that this works, I think, is there's some micro glitters in this that when you put it on your face, there's something about how the micro glitters capture the light to make your skin seem, I don't want to say dewy, that's not the right word. A lot of dewy highlighters will make me look sweaty, I feel like, or like my skin is wet, which as someone with oily skin is like, I'm not generally going for that. I want something that makes my skin look really healthy. And I think this achieves that. This makes your skin look very, what's the word? It just makes it look healthy. It makes it look young and taut. And um, it has that sheen to it. You know that like really healthy people have? Um, where they'll turn their skin in the light and there's just a glow to their skin. This kind of gives that to you. And I don't know if I've seen that with a highlighter before. I will say overall, I think I still do slightly prefer the finish of the Hourglass, just because this is a little bit more, I don't want to say like a powdery look, but this is less intense, I think, in terms of that sheen and even the micro glitter, and I prefer that. I will say, in terms of finish, even though the formulas between the Haus Labs and Hindash are different, when I blend these out on my face, I think the finish of these are very similar. So again, if you have a color in Haus Labs that you really like, um, I would not get a similar color in the Hindash because I think they'll probably end up looking the same. Uh, so, so me having both of these, there's just absolutely no reason for me to have this, basically. But I do really like the formula of this, and I really, really, really wish that this was the color that I thought it was going to be, or like in the realm of the color that I thought it was going to be. I wish that this was more, well, I just wish it didn't have that gold to it, because you know that picture I was talking about earlier from the product listing that had that purple gradient added into it. This, and I'm not going to be able to capture this on camera, but if you get this in the right light, the gradient in this is really gold. Like if you go to that picture and you replace all of that purple with gold, that's actually how this looks. I mean, most of the time it just looks like a white brick, but it's really gold. That's the gradient of this, and I'm just unhappy that it just isn't what I thought it was going to be. Because if it was, if it did have more of it, even if it just didn't have the gold in it, I would probably be happy keeping it. But if it had even a hint of like lilac to it, this would be fantastic. And I would be really happy to keep it. But just due to the fact that it's a completely different color than I thought, and it's not a color that I would have purchased had I known what it was, um, I I will probably be returning this. I think this is the only return I've ever had to Beautylish, and hopefully it stays that way. But I really hope that they update the marketing around this, because otherwise I imagine there will be other people who had the same experience as me. Because this product does not match the photos that's in the listing, and it doesn't match the product description for the color. I think if it was just Moonlit Pearl, I think that would be open to interpretation, totally. And I think that would definitely leave the possibility for this kind of silvery gold color. But they added lilac in there, and that definitely gave me a more specific expectation of the color, and that expectation wasn't met. But I really wish that there was a color that I could choose instead of this one because I like the formula so much. But I think there's only two other colors. One is more of like a gold pink, or at least it looks like it's a gold pink to me. And then there's a much deeper one that just wouldn't work. So yeah, I wouldn't get this if you're looking for a highlighter with a hint of lilac in it or any sort of purple in it. Who I do think that this will work for, and who I suspect that this was actually formulated for, and I wish it was marketed more clearly towards, is people who have a very fair skin tone, who maybe don't have as extreme of an undertone as I do, um, but people with fair skin tones for whom most highlighters show up on, as in, like there's a cast, kind of the way that the Mally one has a cast on my skin, and that was the second one here. There's a fair number of people who have really fair skin who they try to get highlighters and they might get a sheen that they like, but then there's this corresponding cast on their skin. And this one doesn't have any cast to it. Like, yes, I don't like the color, but there's no cast to it. So this is, I think, would be a very elegant solution for someone who has a very fair skin tone who has that struggle. Um, I don't, well, I sometimes have that struggle. Sometimes I'll get a highlighter that I think will work and then it doesn't. But that isn't generally my main struggle with highlighters. My main struggle with highlighters is getting a highlighter that is cool toned enough for me. And for me, I think this one works most of the time, or I mean, this does always work. It's always cool toned enough. But I like this one. The one from MAC is okay. Sometimes I'm not going for as pink of a purple as this. And then there's one from Dior. This one. This is very old from Dior. I kind of forget what it's called. Dior Skin Nude Luminizer 06. I think this was like Holographic Glow was the name or something like that. I really love this. This has a really, really beautiful blue shift to it. But yeah, I would say most of the time I'm going for one of these two if I'm going for a highlighter. Um, Either that or, well, I mean, I guess I'll kind of use this in a way of a highlighter, but it doesn't highlight in the same way. This is just a very skin finish kind of thing. It's a very natural option. But this is probably my favorite highlighter. Maybe I can swatch it. I'll swatch it. This should show up pretty well. I mean, like, look at the blue shift in this. This will look very different than basically anything else that I have on my arm. So I think, not this one. This was the Hindash. So if I put this like right between here, like you can see how much more cool toned this is than the Hindash above it. Or even the silver from Haus Labs below it. But this is my favorite from Dior because it's just so, so, so cool tone. It's also very smooth and it has a really beautiful formula, but it's really old. So I've been trying to find, something that I like as much as it because at some point this is going to go bad. Like this is already probably a decade old, maybe more. I kind of don't know. I got this secondhand, so I'm not entirely sure. I could probably look this up online, but basically, I don't want to be stuck with this being like my only favorite highlighter and then it going bad and then not having anything else. Okay, I'm adding in this because I realized towards the end of the video that the light was just not bright enough for you to see very well. So I'm just going to go through each one of these. Everything has been swatched on my arm. So yeah, I just want you to be able to see in your monitor with the colors that I'm looking at because it's important to most of the video. So this is the Give Me Glow Lilac Highlighter. This is the one from Mally. That's the more like pinky purple that shows up with kind of a weird cast on my skin. And then this one is from MAC. This is Soft Frost. And then this one right here, that does look very glittery. It really does buff out nicely onto the skin and look really natural. This is the one from Hindash. And it has that kind of like a white gold to it. And I think in this more intense light, you can see there's some glitter to it. And you can kind of see the goldness of the cast. And you might even be able to see like a few little glimmers of like green and maybe even a little bit of pink in there somewhere. But yeah, it's mostly a white gold highlighter look. And then right beneath it, right here, is the blue highlighter from Dior. Down below that is the silver highlighter from Haus Labs. I believe the color is called Moonstone, something like that. And then if I turn way over here, you can see the Morphe Cloudlight in Dawn. It doesn't show up super well. It's a finishing powder, so it's not meant to be a highlighter really, but it does have a lot of sheen to it. So I wanted to compare and show you, um, you know, basically how much more silver this looks on my skin than the Hindash color. Oh, and this is the one from Hourglass from the trio. I believe it was called Pure Light or something like that. And this is basically the same color as the Hindash one. And the Hindash one might even be a little bit more gold. I don't know if that shows up for you, but is maybe a little bit more gold than the one from Hourglass. But I don't really like either one of these colors. The Hourglass one I've had for a very, very long time. And then beneath that, so this is from, or both of these are from Pat McGrath. This was the Pat McGrath highlighter from the highlighter trio. And then this one is from Subliminal. It's the gold color in Subliminal. And I totally forget what the name is for it. And then beneath that is from e.l.f. A very old e.l.f. highlighter that I had that kind of has the same goldness to it, but it's basically just a glitter bomb. And then way, way beneath it, and I don't even think this is going to show up really, is Ethereal Light from Hourglass. And it just kind of melts into my skin. So hopefully that's helpful to add into the video, and sorry for the bad lighting in the video. I do try to use natural lighting, but sometimes that works against me. All that to say is I don't love the color of this Hindash product. I wish that it was clear what the product color is in the listing, but I love the formula. The formula is great. If you want this color that I've described and you're looking for a really good highlighter formula, I actually do recommend this. I think this is fantastic. But yeah, I'm really sad that this didn't work out for me. This is a really beautiful product. It's just not a color that I want or like. So hopefully this gives you some information if you're thinking of picking up this product or products like this. If you have any questions, let me know below. And if you've stuck around for this really long video, thank you so much. And I hope to see you in another video soon. Bye for now.